The air aboard the diplomatic vessel Harmony thickened as Commander Patrick Evans felt the first tickle in his throat. The worst possible time for a cough, he thought, as the enormous doors to Emperor Zexkara's throne room slid open with a mechanical hiss. "Remember," Ambassador Chen whispered beside him, "absolute silence unless directly addressed. The Grakians consider unsolicited sounds to be the highest form of disrespect." Patrick nodded, fighting the irritation in his throat. The 6-month journey to Grakian space had been tense enough, but this meeting would determine whether Earth would gain a powerful ally or a devastating enemy. The United Earth Coalition had sent their best team, Ambassador Chen, Commander Evans as security detail, and 2 scientific advisors to negotiate mining rights in the asteroid belt bordering Grakian territory. The throne room stretched before them, seemingly endless. Grakian nobles lined both sides of the central walkway, their tall, slender forms draped in elaborate garments that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. Their skin ranged from deep purple to midnight blue, marked with intricate ridges that Patrick knew indicated clan affiliations and social status. At the far end sat Emperor Zexkara, twice the size of his subjects, on a throne carved from what appeared to be a single piece of translucent crystal. His eyes, 4 of them, arranged in a diamond pattern, gleamed with an intelligence that made Patrick's skin crawl. "Approach," a translator announced, its mechanical voice echoing through the chamber. The human delegation began their careful walk forward. Patrick kept his eyes lowered as instructed during their briefings. The Grakians considered direct eye contact without permission to be a challenge to authority. The tickle in Patrick's throat grew worse with each step. He tried to swallow it down, but the air in the throne room carried an odd scent, something like cinnamon mixed with ozone, that only aggravated his condition. "Humans," Emperor Zexkara's voice boomed through the translator device, "you enter our domain seeking favor. We have allowed this audience out of curiosity, nothing more." Ambassador Chen bowed deeply. "Your Imperial Majesty, we are honored beyond measure by your generosity." The Emperor raised a hand with 7 elongated fingers. "Silence now, I will observe." The entire room went still. Patrick could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. The tickle in his throat had become a burning sensation. He pressed his lips together, trying to fight it. Emperor Zexkara rose from his throne, towering at nearly 10 feet tall. He descended 3 crystalline steps and approached the human delegation. Patrick kept his eyes down as the Emperor's shadow fell over them. "Interesting specimens," Zexkara said, circling them. "So fragile-looking, yet your species has managed to expand to 17 systems in a mere century." The Emperor stopped directly in front of Patrick. "This one, it exudes tension." Patrick felt sweat beading on his forehead. The burning in his throat was becoming unbearable. He needed to cough. He couldn't cough. The fate of Earth's diplomatic relations hung in the balance. "Your Imperial Majesty," Ambassador Chen said cautiously, "may I present Commander Patrick Evans, our security?" "I did not permit you to speak," the Emperor cut in, his voice dangerously low. "In the presence of the Emperor, all must maintain absolute silence unless addressed directly." The room temperature seemed to drop several degrees. Patrick could see the other Grakian nobles shifting uncomfortably. One noble in particular, wearing a cloak adorned with what looked like circuitry patterns, leaned forward with interest. "From this moment," Emperor Zexkara announced, returning to his throne, "I demand absolute silence from all present. I will contemplate these humans and decide their worth." Patrick's eyes watered as he fought the increasingly desperate need to cough. Minutes passed in excruciating silence. The Emperor sat motionless, all 4 eyes fixed on the human delegation. Then it happened. Despite Patrick's best efforts, the cough escaped a sharp, explosive sound that echoed through the silent chamber, and something unexpected followed. The entire throne room trembled. The crystal pillars supporting the vast ceiling vibrated, creating a harmonic ringing sound. Several of the Grakian nobles stumbled. The floor beneath them seemed to ripple like water. Patrick froze in horror as Emperor Zexkara shot to his feet. All 4 eyes widened in what appeared to be shock. "What did you do?" the emperor demanded, his translator unable to fully capture the mixture of emotions in his voice. Before Patrick could respond, the noble with the circuitry-patterned cloak rushed forward. "Your Majesty, the resonance, it matches the sacred frequency." The emperor raised a hand for silence, then fixed his gaze on Patrick. "You, human, produce that sound again." Patrick looked to Ambassador Chen, who gave a slight nod, her face pale with tension. Clearing his throat nervously, Patrick coughed again, this time deliberately. Once more the room trembled, the crystal structures singing with resonance. The throne room erupted in a flurry of Grakian speech, too fast for the translators to process. Emperor Zexkara descended from his throne again, approaching Patrick with a new intensity in his gaze. "In 10,000 years," the emperor said, "no being has produced the sacred resonance that awakens the heart of our ancestral hall. Our legends speak of an alien race that would one day return, bearing the gift of the great resonance." Patrick swallowed hard. "Your Majesty, I assure you I didn't intend to. Intention is irrelevant," the emperor interrupted. "The crystals of our world respond only to specific harmonic frequencies. Our scientists have tried for generations to replicate what you just produced naturally." The noble with the circuitry cloak approached, bowing deeply to the emperor before speaking. "Your Majesty, I am Chief Scientist Vren. If I may examine the human," the emperor nodded his permission. Scientist Vren produced a handheld device and pointed it at Patrick's throat. "Fascinating," Vren said. The human's vocal structures, combined with the specific inflammation pattern in his respiratory system, created a perfect harmonic match to our sacred crystals. Ambassador Chen stepped forward carefully. "Your Imperial Majesty, we had no knowledge of this phenomenon." "Commander Evans is suffering from a minor respiratory irritation due to our long journey." The Emperor's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "A coincidence, perhaps, or perhaps the universe has a greater design than we comprehend." He turned to Patrick. "Commander Evans, you will accompany Scientist Vren to our research facility. We must understand this phenomenon." Patrick looked at Ambassador Chen with alarm. Being separated from the delegation hadn't been part of the plan. "Your Majesty," Chen interjected, "with all respect, Commander Evans is an essential member of our delegation. Perhaps we could arrange for examinations during breaks in our negotiations." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "You misunderstand, Ambassador. There will be no negotiations until we understand the significance of this event. The human has produced the sacred resonance. According to our oldest traditions, this changes everything." Before anyone could respond, a different noble stepped forward. This one wore armor rather than ceremonial robes, with scarred ridges across his blue skin. "Your Majesty," the armored noble said, "I must object. These humans arrive seeking mining rights, and suddenly one produces the sacred resonance. This cannot be coincidence, it must be trickery." The Emperor turned his attention to the new speaker. "General Drax, your caution is noted, but even you cannot deny what we all witnessed." "I deny nothing, Your Majesty," General Drax replied. "I merely suggest that before we alter our stance toward these humans, we should investigate thoroughly. Perhaps in a more controlled environment." Patrick didn't like the sound of that. He caught Chen's eye, seeing his own concern reflected there. The Emperor considered for a moment. "A compromise, then. The human delegation will be given quarters in the palace complex. Commander Evans will submit to examinations by Scientist Vren, but will remain with his people otherwise. General Drax, you may assign security as you see fit." General Drax bowed stiffly. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Ambassador Chen bowed as well. "We are grateful for your hospitality, Emperor Zexkara." The Emperor returned to his throne. "This audience is concluded. We will reconvene once Scientist Vren has completed his initial examinations." As they were escorted from the throne room, Patrick leaned close to Ambassador Chen. "I'm sorry. I couldn't hold it back." "Don't apologize," she whispered. "Whatever just happened might have saved our mission, though I'm not sure if it's made our situation better or worse." The human delegation was led through a series of corridors with vaulted ceilings made of the same resonant crystal. Grakian Palace staff watched them pass with undisguised curiosity. "Commander Evans," scientist Vren said, falling into step beside Patrick. "I would like to begin examinations immediately, if you are willing." Patrick nodded cautiously. "I'll cooperate, but I'd like one of our scientists present." "Of course," Vren agreed. "This is a scientific matter, after all." Dr. Lydia Santos, one of the delegation's scientific advisors, volunteered to accompany Patrick. They followed Vren to a laboratory several levels below the palace's main floor. The lab was a marvel of alien technology. Crystal-based computers hummed alongside equipment Patrick couldn't begin to identify. Grakian assistants moved about with efficiency, preparing various instruments under Vren's direction. "Please sit here." Vren indicated a chair-like structure that adjusted itself to Patrick's human anatomy as he sat down. "What exactly are you looking for?" Dr. Santos asked, examining the equipment with professional interest. "The sacred resonance is central to our culture," Vren explained, attaching sensors to Patrick's throat. "Our ancestral records speak of beings who could awaken the crystals with their voices alone. These beings helped our ancestors develop our crystal technology before departing, promising to return one day." Patrick raised an eyebrow. "And you think I'm connected to these beings somehow?" "I make no assumptions," Vren said. "I merely seek data. Now, please cough again." Patrick did as instructed. The smaller crystals in the laboratory vibrated visibly. "Remarkable," Vren murmured, studying the readings on his instruments. "The frequency is perfect, 107.8 Hz, with specific overtones that match our sacred crystal matrix." "Doctor." Santos leaned forward to examine the data. "This frequency is within the normal range for human coughing, but the overtone pattern is unusual." Vren nodded. "Commander, are you aware of any non-human ancestry in your lineage?" Patrick blinked in surprise. "No, I'm fully human as far as I know." "Have you experienced unusual respiratory symptoms before?" "Nothing out of the ordinary. Occasional colds, seasonal allergies." Vren made notes on a crystal tablet. "I would like to take some samples: tissue, blood, and vocal recordings." Patrick hesitated, looking at Dr. Santos. "Standard medical samples should be fine," she said, "but I'll need to verify any procedures first." The examination continued for several hours. Patrick submitted to scans, samples, and dozens of vocal tests. By the end, his throat was raw from repeated coughing. "I believe I have sufficient data for preliminary analysis," Vren finally announced. "You may return to your quarters. I will summon you if needed." As they were escorted back to the delegation's assigned chambers, Dr. Santos whispered to Patrick, "Something strange is happening here." "Those readings weren't just about sound frequencies, they were measuring energy patterns I've never seen before." "What does that mean for us?" Patrick asked. "I'm not sure yet," she admitted, "but I think you've accidentally stumbled onto something deeply significant to the Grakians." Back in their quarters, a spacious suite clearly designed for important visitors, Ambassador Chen was waiting anxiously. "What happened?" she demanded as soon as they entered. Dr. Santos quickly summarized the examination while Patrick dropped exhausted into a chair. "They didn't hurt you, did they?" Chen asked Patrick. He shook his head. "No, just tired from being a guinea pig." "This changes our diplomatic approach completely," Chen said, pacing the room. "We came seeking mining rights, but now we're apparently fulfilling some ancient Grakian prophecy." The fourth member of their delegation, Dr. Raj Patel, looked up from a data tablet. "I've been researching Grakian cultural references while you were gone. Their crystal technology is remarkably advanced, far beyond what we expected, if humans can somehow interface with it naturally." "Let's not get ahead of ourselves," Chen cautioned. "We don't know if this is an advantage or a complication. General Drax clearly suspects us of deception." "Speaking of complications," Patrick said, "I think we're being monitored." He nodded subtly toward a crystalline formation on the wall that seemed to pulse with energy. Chen nodded slightly. "Assume everything we say is being recorded." A chime sounded, and a Grakian attendant entered the room. "The Emperor requests your presence for evening meal." "You have 1 hour to prepare." After the attendant left, Chen turned to the others. This is unexpected, dining with the Emperor on our first day. Either we've made a breakthrough or they want to observe us more closely. Or both, Patrick suggested. The dining hall was smaller than the throne room, but no less impressive. A long table carved from purple crystal dominated the space, with the Emperor seated at its head. Around the table sat a dozen high-ranking Grakians, including Scientist Vren and General Drax. "Approach and be seated," the Emperor commanded. The human delegation was placed near the Emperor, with Patrick directly to his left, a position of honor that didn't go unnoticed by the other Grakians. General Drax, seated opposite Patrick, watched him with barely concealed suspicion. "I am told the examinations were productive," the Emperor said as servants began bringing out strange, colorful dishes that had been specially prepared to be safe for human consumption. "Yes, Your Majesty," Vren replied. "Commander Evans produces the sacred resonance perfectly. I am still analyzing the data, but the initial findings are significant." "Explain," the Emperor commanded. Vren hesitated, glancing at General Drax before continuing. "The human's vocal structures are not unique, but when combined with the specific respiratory infection he is experiencing, they create the exact frequency pattern described in our ancient texts." "A coincidence," General Drax interjected, "or deliberate manipulation?" "With respect, General," Patrick said carefully, "Earth had no knowledge of your sacred frequencies. My condition is simply a common respiratory irritation from our long journey." The Emperor raised a hand for silence. "Regardless of how this came to be, the fact remains. The sacred resonance has been produced for the first time in 10 millennia. According to tradition, this is an omen that cannot be ignored." An elderly Grakian whom Patrick hadn't seen before spoke up. "Your Majesty, if I may. As High Keeper of Traditions, I must point out that the ancient texts are specific. The returners would come bearing the sacred resonance as a gift, but also seeking alliance." The Emperor's 4 eyes fixed on Ambassador Chen. "And what alliance do you seek, human?" Chen straightened. "As we mentioned in our initial communications, Earth hopes to establish mining rights in the asteroid belt bordering your territory. We've discovered rare minerals there that would benefit both our peoples." "Mining rights," the Emperor repeated. "A modest request, considering the significance of what has occurred today." "We come seeking friendship first, Your Majesty," Chen said diplomatically. "Any agreements would be mutually beneficial." General Drax made a sound that the translator didn't catch. "Your Majesty, the asteroid belt has strategic value. Allowing aliens to establish operations there could pose security risks." "Your concerns are valid, General," the Emperor acknowledged, "but so is the sacred resonance." Patrick took a careful sip of the provided drink, something with the consistency of honey but tasting oddly like mint. His throat was still irritated, and he felt another cough building. He tried to suppress it, but failed once again. His cough sent vibrations through the room. The crystal table resonated, creating harmonics that made the dishes tremble. The Grakians fell silent, many staring at Patrick with expressions ranging from awe to fear. "Forgive me," Patrick said quickly. "No apology needed," the Emperor said. "This is a sign we cannot ignore." He turned to General Drax. "Your caution serves the Empire well, but we must consider all aspects of this situation. If the ancient texts are correct, dismissing these humans could bring great misfortune." General Drax bowed his head. "I serve at your pleasure, Your Majesty. I only ask that we proceed with appropriate security measures." "Of course," the Emperor agreed. He turned back to the human delegation. "Tomorrow, Commander Evans will visit the Great Crystal Cavern, our most sacred site. If the resonance manifests there as well, we will have our answer." The meal continued with discussions of both Earth and Grakian cultures. Patrick noticed that the Emperor seemed particularly interested in Earth's history of vocal music, asking detailed questions about opera and choral traditions. As the dinner concluded, Scientist Vren approached Patrick. "Commander, I have developed a treatment that should help with your respiratory irritation. It will not affect your ability to produce the sacred resonance." Patrick accepted the small crystal vial Vren offered. "Thank you, My throat could use some relief. Back in their quarters, the delegation gathered to discuss the evening's events. They're treating you like some kind of prophesied figure, Dr. Patel said to Patrick. This could give us tremendous leverage in negotiations. Or make me a target, Patrick pointed out. General Drax clearly isn't convinced. Ambassador Chen nodded. We need to tread carefully. This sacred site visit tomorrow could be crucial. Dr. Santos examined the vial Vren had given Patrick. I'd like to analyze this before you take it. Good idea, Patrick agreed. I don't want to accidentally lose this gift before they've agreed to our proposals. Dr. Santos used portable equipment to scan the liquid. It appears to be a mild anti-inflammatory with some compounds I don't recognize. Nothing immediately concerning, but I'd suggest using only half the dose to be safe. Patrick nodded and took half the recommended amount. The effect was almost immediate. A cooling sensation spread through his throat, easing the irritation without eliminating it completely. Better, Chen asked. Much, Patrick confirmed, but I can still feel the tickle that triggers the cough. Good, Chen said. We may need that cough tomorrow. The night passed uneventfully, though Patrick slept poorly, worried about what the next day might bring. Morning arrived with a Grakian escort to take him to the Great Crystal Cavern. The rest of the delegation would follow later. Scientist Vren met Patrick at the entrance to what appeared to be a natural cave system beneath the palace. The Great Crystal Cavern is our most sacred site, he explained. It is where our ancestors first discovered the crystal technology that became the foundation of our civilization. They descended into the cave, moving deeper underground. The walls gradually transformed from ordinary rock to veins of crystal that grew thicker until they reached a massive chamber that took Patrick's breath away. The cavern stretched hundreds of meters in every direction, its walls lined with enormous crystal formations in every color imaginable. In the center stood a colossal crystal spire that reached from floor to ceiling, pulsing with inner light. The heart crystal, Vren said reverently. The first and greatest of all our crystals. A group of Grakians in ceremonial robes waited near the crystal, including the High Keeper of Traditions from dinner the previous night. The Emperor himself stood before the heart crystal, with General Drax and several armed guards nearby. Commander Evans, the Emperor greeted him. Welcome to our most sacred place. Patrick bowed respectfully. I'm honored to be permitted here, Your Majesty. The High Keeper approached. For 10,000 years, we have awaited the return of those who taught us to harness the power of the crystals. Our ancestors recorded that they would know the returners by their ability to awaken the heart crystal with the sacred resonance. Patrick looked at the massive crystal spire. And you believe I can do this? That is what we are here to discover, the Emperor said. Please, approach the heart crystal and produce the sound that shook my throne room. Patrick walked forward until he stood directly before the enormous crystal. He could feel a strange energy emanating from it, a subtle vibration that seemed to resonate within his chest. General Drax stepped closer, one hand resting on a weapon at his side. Remember, human, that to attempt deception in this sacred place is punishable by death. No deception, Patrick assured him, his mouth suddenly dry, just a cough. He took a deep breath and let the irritation in his throat trigger a natural cough. The sound echoed through the cavern, but nothing happened. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. Again, Patrick coughed more forcefully. This time, a faint shimmer ran through the heart crystal, but it was minimal compared to the reaction in the throne room. General Drax made a dismissive gesture. As I suspected, a coincidence, nothing more. Wait, Vren said, studying readings on his device. The resonance is present but too weak. Commander, when you coughed in the throne room, the irritation in your respiratory system was more pronounced. The High Keeper stepped forward. The ancient texts speak of a specific ritual. The returners would drink from the sacred pools before producing the resonance. He gestured to a small pool of luminescent liquid at the base of the heart crystal. This water contains minerals from the crystal itself. Patrick looked uncertainly at Vren. Is it safe for humans? I believe so, Vren said after consulting his device. Our preliminary compatibility tests showed no adverse reactions to similar crystal-infused substances. Patrick hesitated, then turned to the Emperor. With your permission, I'll try it. The Emperor nodded. Patrick knelt by the pool and scooped up a small amount of the glowing liquid. It tasted strangely metallic but not unpleasant. Almost immediately, he felt a tingling sensation spread through his throat and chest. Now try again, the High Keeper urged. Patrick faced the heart crystal and coughed. The effect was instantaneous and dramatic. The cough emerged deeper and more resonant than before, and the heart crystal flashed brilliantly in response. Waves of light pulsed through its structure, spreading to the surrounding crystals until the entire cavern was illuminated with swirling patterns of energy. The Grakians fell to their knees, even General Drax. Only the Emperor remained standing, his 4 eyes wide with astonishment. The prophecy is fulfilled, the High Keeper declared, his voice trembling. The returners have come. Patrick stood transfixed as the crystal continued to pulse with light. He could feel something flowing between himself and the crystal, a connection he couldn't explain. I don't understand, he said finally. I'm just a human with a cough. The Emperor approached him slowly. Perhaps that is all you are, or perhaps you are the instrument through which an ancient promise is being kept. Either way, this moment changes everything between our peoples. General Drax rose to his feet, his expression unreadable. Your Majesty, I concede that the sacred resonance has been produced as the texts described, but we should not rush to judgment about what this means for our empire. Agreed, the Emperor said. But neither can we ignore what we have witnessed. He turned to Patrick. Commander Evans, you and your delegation will be our honored guests while we determine the full significance of these events. By the time they returned to the palace, word had spread. Grakians lined the corridors, bowing as Patrick passed. He felt increasingly uncomfortable with the attention. Ambassador Chen and the rest of the delegation were waiting anxiously in a grand reception hall. Commander Evans, Chen greeted him formally, aware of their audience. We heard there was quite a display in the Crystal Cavern. That's putting it mildly, Patrick replied. I think our negotiating position just improved dramatically. The Emperor called for a formal council meeting to discuss the implications of what had occurred. The human delegation was invited to attend an unprecedented honor for off-worlders. The council chamber was filled with Grakian nobles and officials when they arrived. Patrick noted that General Drax had assembled a significant security presence. Esteemed members of the Imperial Council, the Emperor began once everyone was seated. Today, we have witnessed the fulfillment of our most ancient prophecy. The sacred resonance has awakened the heart crystal for the first time in 10 millennia. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The human commander Patrick Evans has demonstrated the gift our ancestors spoke of, the Emperor continued. According to tradition, this signifies a new era of cooperation between our peoples. An elderly council member stood. Your Majesty, while I do not question what occurred in the Crystal Cavern, we must consider whether this human truly represents the returners or is merely capable of producing a similar effect. A valid concern, the Emperor acknowledged. High Keeper, what do the ancient texts say specifically? The High Keeper consulted a crystal tablet. The texts state, they who return will bear the gift of resonance, awakening the heart from its slumber. They will come seeking alliance, and through this alliance, both peoples will prosper as the stars themselves prosper. General Drax leaned forward. And what if these humans are not the returners, but have somehow discovered the secret of the resonance? What if their request for mining rights is merely the first step toward greater incursions into our territory? Ambassador Chen rose to address the council. With respect, General, Earth had no knowledge of your sacred resonance before Commander Evans' accidental discovery yesterday. We came seeking a mutually beneficial arrangement regarding the asteroid belt, nothing more. Yet now you find yourselves in a position of unexpected advantage, Drax countered. Enough, the Emperor said. Regardless of whether these humans are the prophesied returners, the fact remains that Commander Evans has awakened the heart crystal. According to our oldest laws, this grants them the right to present their proposal directly to the full council. He gestured to Ambassador Chen. Please share your proposal with us. Chen stepped forward confidently. Thank you, Your Majesty. Earth seeks permission to establish mining operations in the outer reaches of the asteroid belt bordering Grakian space. Our surveys have discovered deposits of rare minerals beneficial to both our peoples. She activated a holographic display showing the proposed mining areas. We offer fair compensation, technological exchange, and a defensive alliance that would strengthen both our positions in this sector. The council members studied the proposal with interest. Even General Drax seemed to be considering it seriously. What guarantees do we have that these operations won't expand beyond the agreed boundaries? One council member asked. We propose joint oversight committees and transparent monitoring systems, Chen replied. Any changes would require mutual agreement. The discussions continued for hours, delving into technical details and security concerns. Throughout it all, Patrick noticed that many council members kept glancing at him with expressions of wonder or uncertainty. Finally, the Emperor raised a hand for silence. I have heard enough to make a decision. The sacred resonance is a sign that cannot be ignored. We will grant the mining rights as requested, with the security provisions General Drax has outlined. A ripple of surprise ran through the chamber. General Drax himself appeared stunned by the Emperor's swift decision. Furthermore, the Emperor continued, I propose a cultural exchange program between our peoples. If Commander Evans can produce the sacred resonance, perhaps other humans can learn to interact with our crystal technology in ways we haven't imagined. Ambassador Chen bowed deeply. Your Majesty is most generous. Earth accepts these terms with gratitude. As the council meeting adjourned, Scientist Vren approached Patrick. Commander, I have completed my analysis of your condition. The respiratory irritation is temporary, but your unique vocal structure is permanent. Even after your irritation heals, you should still be able to produce the sacred resonance with proper training. Patrick raised an eyebrow. Are you suggesting I stay here to learn? That would be one option, Vren said. Or perhaps I could accompany your delegation back to Earth to study this phenomenon further. Before Patrick could respond, General Drax joined them. Commander Evans, he said stiffly, it seems we are to be allies. I'm glad the Emperor saw the benefits of cooperation, Patrick replied cautiously. Drax's expression remained stern. I serve the Emperor loyally, but my duty is to protect our empire. Remember this, if your people betray our trust, no ancient prophecy will save you. There will be no betrayal, Patrick assured him. Earth values this alliance. The general studied him for a moment, then nodded curtly. For your sake, I hope that's true. He turned and walked away. Ambassador Chen approached with a smile. Well done, Commander. Your accidental cough has accomplished more than months of careful negotiation could have. Lucky timing, Patrick said modestly. More than luck, I think, Chen replied. The universe works in strange ways sometimes. The next day, a formal ceremony was held to sign the alliance treaty. The Emperor himself pressed his 7-fingered hand to the crystal document alongside Ambassador Chen's signature. As the document was sealed, Patrick felt another cough building. This time, he didn't try to suppress it. The cough echoed through the ceremonial hall, causing the crystal architecture to resonate with beautiful harmonic tones. The Grakians present interpreted this as a blessing on the new alliance. 1 week later, as the human delegation prepared to return to Earth, Patrick stood on a balcony overlooking the Grakian capital city. His respiratory irritation had finally cleared up, but as Vren had predicted, he could still produce the sacred resonance when he wanted to. Thinking deep thoughts, Commander, Ambassador Chen asked, joining him on the balcony. Just reflecting on how differently this mission could have gone, Patrick replied. One cough changed everything. Some might call it destiny, Chen said. The right person with the right condition at the right moment, Patrick smiled. I prefer to think of it as good luck. Either way, you've made history. Earth's first major alliance with the Grakian Empire, all because you couldn't hold back a cough. Let's hope it's the beginning of something good for both our peoples, Patrick said. Below them, Grakian citizens went about their daily lives, many looking up occasionally at the human visitors with newfound respect and curiosity. In the distance, the first joint Earth-Grakian expedition was preparing to depart for the asteroid belt. Time to go home, Chen said. The UEC will want a full report, and you'll probably be spending months briefing scientists about your vocal cords. Patrick nodded. I'm ready. Though I have to admit, I'll miss the way these crystals sing when I cough. As if to demonstrate, he coughed once more. The balcony's crystal railings vibrated in response, creating a pleasant, chiming melody that drifted out over the city. Somewhere in the palace, Emperor Zexkara heard the distant resonance and smiled with all four of his eyes. The ancient prophecy had been fulfilled, and a new chapter in Grakian history had begun, all because a human couldn't hold back a cough in his throne room. In the following years, the alliance between Earth and the Grakian Empire would grow stronger. Patrick Evans would return many times to the Crystal World, eventually leading a specialized team of human researchers studying the unique harmonics that had once been considered sacred magic, but were now understood as advanced science. And occasionally, when diplomatic tensions arose, Patrick would clear his throat and remind everyone of how their partnership began with a simple cough that made an emperor's throne room tremble.